Perfect. Perfect. If you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition, Home Gadget Geeks. I think that's what we're doing. Thursday night, the 13th of June, 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. And if you got this any other time that you got the recorded version on our recorded channel, that's okay. All our recorded shows are there on YouTube, and you can keep watching them if you want. Welcome those Patreon subscribers. Always appreciate you guys and what you're doing, getting the full version of it. Erin Lawrence is hanging out with me tonight. And Erin, it's always a great night to have you. Thanks for saying yes. You're so kind. Thank you.
Oh, of course. Oh my God. It's my favorite podcast to do. You are my favorite podcast host. So it's my pleasure to be here.
That's so nice. You're so nice to me. That's kind of why you keep coming back.
It is.
I have a old fashioned inspired drink, but what are you drinking tonight?
I have the remnants of a Negroni, and I made it's purple because I made butterfly pea flower tea ice cubes and used that in the drink.
Wow. So, like flavor wise, is it sweet? Is it tart? Is it? I mean, what do you? Is it floral?
A
Or you get
Negroni is pretty herbal,
herbal?
herby,
Okay.
a little on the bitter side, actually probably a lot on the bitter side. The butterfly pea flower tea ice cube though has virtually no flavor.
Okay.
So it's really just about the color because if you put those flowers into pretty much anything, it turns the water or the drink purple.
Mm, okay.
So it's more visual than
Yeah.
flavor, but the
It's
Negroni was nice.
it's like a purple grape Kool-Aid kind of
Kinda, yeah.
thing.
That's
Yeah,
kinda
except
the color,
not
yeah.
as sweet. Not as sweet. Yeah. Yeah. No, that looks. Do you grow those? It's a flower that you.
No, I am flattered that you think I could do that, Jim, but no,
Well,
I ordered those
you're amazing,
dried in a
Erin.
bag off Amazon. I can grow some things and I can do a lot of things, but growing flowers to put in my drinks is not one of
Wow.
them.
You never know. This year we have sunflowers growing in abundance. Those things are a little invasive if you're
It
not
can
careful.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this last fall, I just the heads finish and they fall over, and I just cut them off and threw them around the yard, thinking
Yeah.
like, the birds, the squirrels, some fall foliage for them, to some fall food for them. We're going to talk about bird feeders here in the live show, but so I just threw it around the yard. Well, okay, they don't eat them all, and then they started coming up everywhere. And we do have, and I have a strip between the neighbor's house and mine that the first year he had it in his yard, and then they migrated to the strip by themselves. Sure, it was the birds, right?
Ooh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I took them to strip and moved them up to an area where they're growing right around our deck. So we have a high deck in the front, and so they'll grow right up where we can see them. You can stand on the deck and then see the heads, which is kind of the effect I was looking for. Is they would
Nice.
be
A little
right.
bit of a screen.
Yeah, they'd be right there for us, which would be right, kind of at eye level. But they're everywhere. That strip last year that had 3 or 6 plants now has 600 growing in it, right? And my
Good
neighbor
for
goes,
you.
yeah, well, my neighbor's like, and I was a little worried, you're kind of thinking like, maybe that's too much. And my neighbor was like, this is going to be the best year ever.
All right. Welcome to the Green Thumb
I'm
Party.
like, thanks, Ed. I appreciate that. And I don't know if it's going to be the best one, but we're going to have lots of sunflowers. So
Oh, good for you
those,
guys.
those are growing in the yard. I should probably dry them and do all those other things you're supposed to do, but not sure they're the eating kind.
Yeah, me
So
either.
I have a Jim recipe. It's old fashioned inspired, what I'm learning to say. I was talking to somebody about this recipe, and they said that's definitely not an old fashioned, and they were kind of snooty about it. Like, that's not an old fashioned. And I mean, they didn't sound it look like that, but that's like, it's my old fashioned. It can be whatever.
Mhm.
I can make whatever I want. So, anyways, 2 parts Four Roses bourbon.
'Kay.
So I make kind of a mix for it. So 2 parts Four Roses bourbon, 1 part Balcones bourbon, which you can't get anymore. They stopped making it, but it's a pot stilled bourbon. So it's got this,
Mhm.
and it's in Texas. So it's got a little bit of a different kind of bourbon flavor to it. And then a benchmark 125, so a high proof bourbon that
Oh,
gives it a
wow.
little punch. and then a little splash of Knob Creek maple whiskey. So you get smoke. It's a smoky
Mhm.
maple. You'd like that. Canadian. You're Canadian.
Yes, yes.
You guys wash your cars with maple syrup.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
it flows in the streets.
It flows in the streets,
You can just
especially
take
in
your
the spring, yep.
waffles right out to the street and get maple
The
syrup on
snow melts, it turns into maple syrup. Absolutely.
it. Totally. That's totally the way that's at least the way Americans think. So that's the bourbon mix, and then we've been making our own cherry whiskey for the last couple of years. My son gets cherries off his tree. We soak them in whiskey for 4 or 5 months, a little bit of sugar, mix them up. It gets a really rich cherry flavor. So instead of in a old fashioned, instead of adding a cherry, I just add cherry whiskey. Now that adds a little bit of alcohol.
Mm.
So let's just be really clear. The next couple steps add a lot of alcohol to it. So
And by the way, Farmer Jim over here should try growing butterfly pea flowers.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Sounds like it.
maybe we'll give that a shot. So little cherry whiskey, and then I use Jim Beam orange. So instead of putting an orange in, I just use a little splash of Jim Beam orange whiskey. Again, whiskey and not
So
the
how many
fruit.
ounces is this drink?
Okay, well just hold on. And then so that that gets us to 3 ounces, and then a half an ounce of 43 liqueur, which is a Spanish
Oh,
kind of
yes.
liqueur,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
vanilla. Yeah. So 3.5 ounces, pour that in a couple bitters and orange bitters. And then that's my version of a quick old fashioned.
That's a Jim fashioned.
That's a Jim fashion. Ooh, I like
I think
that.
it's a Jim fashioned.
It's a Jim
Yeah.
fashion. It tastes like the best old fashioned you've ever had. It may not be made with exactly the same things, but it's got that orange, cherry, kind of bourbon inspired. You got
Mhm.
some maple in there. You got a little smokiness in it. It's actually, and I can make it in about 30
It does
seconds.
sound good.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
delicious. So that's. I know it's not an old fashioned. You
Well,
throw king eyes.
bottoms up. I
Mm,
think we should call it the Jim fashioned. I
I
think we
like it.
should
Jim
just go ahead and
fashion.
rename it.
Cheers. Cheers, dear.
Cheers.
Mm. Justin says, you asked how many ounces. He says, not enough, clearly. You could do 4.
Could be more.
You could go up to 4 ounces with it, but it's an all night drinker, is what I tell people. You make it at 6 or 7, you're
Yeah.
sipping it most of the evening because it is
Yes.
absolutely loaded.
As it turns out, just like my Negroni. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, right on. All right, well, let's kick this thing off.
yeah.
Guys, thanks for coming out. Good to see you, Ken. Justin, good to see you. And there's more of you. I see more of you in the chat. So if you check in and let us know that you are here, we appreciate you guys coming out. Okay, let me kick this thing off. Let me get over to the notes. All right, Erin, you know the drill. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 611 with Erin Lawrence, recorded on June 13th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy and gal. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful, although we had some hail last night. Erin, do you get much hail up there in Canada, or is it just maple syrup that rains from the sky?
Definitely that, but we do in Calgary, we get our share of hail. I want to say we've had the biggest and most damaging hailstorms. Not that I'm trying to
Whoa.
one up you, but
No, right on.
in
No,
Canada.
no.
So
Yeah.
it's we get hail.
No. Okay. Yeah, we haven't. I've escaped it the last maybe decade. I've been in other parts of the city when it's been going on. And last night we were out on the deck enjoying one of the kids had come over for a cocktail and a cigar, and we're enjoying that. And we're watching the storm come in, and we could hear it before we could even see it. And then it came in.
Oh wow.
I said to the kids, it looks like on the radar it's going to miss us, but we should probably go in anyways. And so we went in, and as soon as we got everything in the house, we heard pink, that very first
Yeah.
pink.
And
I'm
you're
like,
like,
what's that?
Is it?
No, no. Ran out, put cardboard on top of the cars to try and my car sits outside, so to try to protect that. But a few dings, I think I'm going to be okay. So it is fine here.
You will rebuild.
I think we'll be fine here in Omaha, Nebraska. Of course, we'll post a show with world-class show notes, and we'll have quite a few tonight for Erin. over at theaverageguy.tv. Big thanks to Rich Hay, who joined us 2 weeks ago. I was off for work last week, but Rich joined us. We talked a lot about smart telescopes. So if you haven't checked that out yet, it was good to see Rich again. Yeah, it was always good to have Rich on here. There's another. Do you ever get a telescope? If someone said, "Would you review a telescope?" Would you review it?
Oh, in a
Is that interesting?
heartbeat. I actually
Yeah.
this is how out of touch I am with that aspect of technology. Had no idea that was a thing, and now I can't believe that I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
That would be super cool.
As a kid, I went out. This is old, back when the earth was still cooling. I went out, we did it old school where the guy had the micro, and he was looking for comments. It was cold. I was freezing. It's
Always.
California, but I was still freezing. These new smart ones, set them up outside, come in the house, view it all on your phone. Literally.
Oh, this sounds wonderful. I am gonna
You
have to look
should.
that up after the
Yeah,
show then.
you'll have to send this link, this part of the show out and say, "Hey, smart telescope people, if you're
I would like
interested."
to check this out. Yes, please.
So there's Tony says there's a guy on TikTok who makes a living with this backyard observatory, and that's kind of what it becomes, right?
Wow.
You can, I think you can show it online and stuff. So anyways, big thanks to Rich who joined us last week, and a big thanks to our Patreon subscribers each and every month. You guys help support the network and appreciate you guys. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you want to join the team, you can do that at theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Erin Lawrence, techgadgetscanada.com is her site. I think the best gadgets, I'm going to say it, best gadget site on the internet. Thank you for coming out, Erin. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. I love your audience. Your audience is always so engaged and really interested and has honestly the best questions. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say tonight.
Yeah, Justin says that rain is just actually crystallized maple syrup coming down there in Canada. So it's I'm not going to lie. I had a friend. We had this conference last week, and I had a friend from Canada, Banff, actually not far from you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very close.
She came to town. I got maple cookies. I got maple inspired marshmallows. Didn't know those existed. I got ketchup flavored chips.
So good.
Yeah. All dressing. Is it all dress? All dressing?
All dressed. Yeah.
All dressed. DED, right? All dressed.
Yeah.
Both Pringles, both made in the United States, shipped to Canada, and then she brought them back.
Yeah, that's how we do it here. Because otherwise they'd cost $800. So.
Yeah. We just thought that was funny. Like made in the U.S., shipped to Canada. She brought them back. So I have some Canadian treats. She did get me some. What's the rye whiskey that Canadian
Crown
Club?
Royal, probably.
Or Canadian Club.
Canadian Club. Yeah.
Canadian Club. Yeah, she brought me a bottle of Canadian Club too. So
Oh,
Canada
wow.
is
You got treated well there, Jim. All of the favorites.
No, all of the things. So it was
I'm gonna
great.
have to do this up next time I come to the US.
Yeah.
Can't let Banff.
Can't let Banff
outdo Calgary.
Catherine is her name, and she's fantastic. She's like, "What do you want from Canada?" I'm like, oh, "We're good here in the U.S." She's like, "No, I got to bring you some things," and she had brought the ketchup and the ketchup chips and the all dressed.
Yeah,
And
those are good.
She brought the Lay's version last time. I'm like, "Yeah, those are good." And then she brought the Pringles. I think even better. Yeah, very, very delicious. Well, okay, we left you at the end of the last show. You kind of teased. We had covered a bird feeder, and you were kind of like, meh, on that bird feeder, right? Oh, by the way, all these are posted at techgadgetscanada.com if you want to go out and see I'll have individual links in the show notes, theaverageguy.tv/HGG611 for this show. We kind of left it with you. You were like, yeah, but I'm going to be checking out this one from Birdfy that you kind of previewed. You've got the preview done. I'm going to show some pictures, but you got both the hummingbird feeder and the regular bird seed. I think you called it the seed feeder.
Seed feeder.
Yeah. Let's start with the seed feeder. You've had it. I'll show some stuff on the screen, but talk a little bit about your review.
Yeah, so I think when last we chatted, I had just tried what's called the Bird Buddy feeder, which I did not have a great experience with at all. And then there was a company called Birdfy, which is, I guess, NetView is the company that makes it, but Birdfy is the name of the device.
Is that how they pronounce it? I would say Birdfy because of Spotify.
You would think, but
yeah,
no,
but
they said it's Birdfy.
All right.
I asked them because I thought I wanted to get it right.
Yeah, you did, and obviously I didn't.
I had the opportunity.
Birdfy.
So
Birdfy.
they
Okay.
reached out and said, "Can we send you our feeder because you had a terrible experience with this other one? We think ours is way better." So they sent me their seed feeder, and I spent a couple of weeks with it. It's quite different from the Bird Buddy version. It's I guess I'm not gonna spoil much by saying it's a much better feeder.
Mm,
It comes with a lot of stuff. You get a solar panel, you get sort of extra gaskets and things for the inside. I think it's got a bigger reservoir. It's much easier to fill, super easy to assemble. And of course, it has a camera built in, it makes it smart. So, this seed feeder will watch the birds as they come to your feeder. And then it's also got AI bird identification in it that will send you a push notification or a message and let you know what kind of birds specifically are coming to your feeder. So I tried this out in my yard for a few weeks and just had the best experience with it. It was
mm.
fantastic. The resolution on the camera was good. The feeder is well built. It's cleverly built. It's smart. Like I said, you can buy it with a solar panel as part of the package, and the solar panel kind of comes on this almost like a rubberized hook clip thing. So you can wrap it around a tree branch, you can hook it over your eaves trough, whatever you want to do. Gutters, I think you call them in the US.
Yes.
Um, but
What
yeah,
do
it's
you
a
call them
great
in
setup.
Canada? What are they called?
Eaves troughs.
Okay. Yeah,
Eaves troughs.
gutters. Yeah. Yeah.
Must
Rain
be from the
gutters.
old English.
Rain
Yeah,
gutters.
rain
Yeah, yeah,
gutters.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So I had a fantastic experience with the Birdfy seed feeder, and again, Birdfy, kudos to NetView for this. I mean, they were on top of this and watching my reviews and really paying attention. And after I finished that review, they said, "Well, if you like this one, you've got to check out our hummingbird feeder." And I thought, you know what? We've been getting a lot of hummingbirds, so I want to, engage them, and I'd love to grab video of them because I mean they're freaking cool and they're
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they sent me their hummingbird feeder, and I think I'm trying to remember how far we got down this road on the last podcast, but I think it had just arrived, and I was really looking forward to trying it. And sadly, I didn't have as good an experience with this one as I did with the
Hmm.
seed feeder.
Okay. What give me
So
some what was different about it that you didn't like?
there was I think the design and the build was good, and like the seed feeder, it came with a lot of stuff in the box, the
Mhm.
solar panel included.
Mhm.
With this one, the solar panel, though, doesn't attach to the feeder in any way. So, kind of the way you have to hang a hummingbird feeder, and then you've got this cable kind of dangling from it, and you have to physically wall mount with screws the solar panel. It was just like, well,
Yeah.
where are you gonna
Yep.
put the solar panel? Like, there's
Yep.
not like, are
Yeah.
you gonna screw it to a tree? Are you gonna try and attach it to your house? And then you're gonna have the solar panel physically screwed into the house, but the feeder is free hanging. So it just really didn't make a lot of good sense to me. I kind of tried repurposing there's a metal mount, I guess, a metal, I don't
This
know what you call it.
this round one for the solar panel?
Yeah, and then there's a part that attaches to the bracket, which sort of will
Mhm.
bend a little bit. So I was
Yep.
trying to
Yep. This
bend
piece
it
here.
and almost
Mm.
make a hook out of it, but it's
Yep.
so rigid metal that it doesn't really bend a lot.
Yep. Yep.
So I had it going for about a day, and then I was just, trying to hack it together, and then I just was like, forget it. I'll just use it. It's a rechargeable camera with this one. So
It
I'm like,
is.
I can just
It is.
recharge the feeder.
You get a couple
But
days, right?
then
You get a couple days out of it.
yeah, it was a couple days. And then
Yep.
the other thing is that, you got to bring the whole thing in to recharge. So you can't there's two cameras in this hummingbird feeder, which is another pro for me. I think that's fantastic because they're positioned at different angles, but you've got to take the whole feeder inside to recharge it.
Mm.
So I was kind of taking it in and out and recharging it every couple days. And then the thing that showed me is that if you don't hold it perfectly level and perfectly still, it'll leak. So just the
Yes, it
way
will.
they've constructed it, It
Yes, it will.
if you tilt it even a little bit, it's spilling sugar water everywhere.
Mhm,
So, and
mhm,
I mean, that's
mhm.
sticky, so that
Yes, it
created a bit
is.
of a mess.
Yep, yep.
So, I kind of just the more I got into that review, the more I thought, you know what? The design here is not as clever and I'm not as impressed. And then I started looking back at the footage and everybody knows what a hummingbird is. They're tiny little birds. Their wings flap about a million times per second and they're really hard to get close to and to capture. So the camera is HD. It's not 4K. And that meant that unless sort of the lighting was just perfect and the bird hovered in place just so for just the right amount of time, it was really hard to get good footage. And I thought, maybe I'm being a jerk about this. It's an HD camera. This is what people order. This is what they would expect to get. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do a little experiment and I'll see what the footage looks like from this camera, the bird feeder camera, the hummingbird feeder camera, and my iPhone, which shoots 4K video. And I mean, the iPhone video just blew it out of the water. So I thought, well, darn, because I really like the concept here and I really like their other feeder, but I just thought there was just enough that was disappointing about this
Mm,
hummingbird feeder
mm.
that I thought, you know what, I can't in good conscience recommend it. I really hope the company, because I know they were listening, I hope they'll go back to the drawing board with this one and make some changes and improvements to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And honestly, pop in a 4K camera. I know that's going to drive the price up a bit, but if you really want to watch hummingbirds from your hummingbird feeder, I think that's gotta be table
Mhm.
stakes for this,
Yeah,
so
it's good. Yeah,
that's where we
this
left it.
I think it's good feedback for them. Like, this is their first version of it, and I think they're gonna
Mhm.
listen to this kind of feedback. It does we're watching some pictures on the video. If you're listening to the audio only, you might wanna come to the video portion of this. Um, youtube.com/Jim Collison will get you there. Yeah, it is for me too, so they sent me one, just full disclosure. They heard us talking about they contacted me and they said, "Can we send you one?" I actually talked to their I said, "Okay, I'm not gonna take this till we talk because I
Yeah.
wanna be very clear. I'm not a review. Erin does the reviews. I'm just gonna talk about it on my show." So, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's fine. It's perfectly fine." So, they sent me one of these as well. And you're right. I brought it in the house to set it up with sugar water and it spilled it all over the placemats. The placemats stuck to the table, right? So it's a little messy. One of the things too, I've been using it since early May. I'm gonna show some pictures here in a second what I took so
Mhm.
you can get an idea of it as well. Um, you got to stay on top of this thing for when you clean it. This isn't a bird feeder that you
Yeah.
set it and forget it. This is every couple days. You need to go out, change the water, clean it up.
Mhm.
I let it go how just before today. I'm like, I had to pull that thing down and clean it. And it had been a week or two and it got moldy pretty fast. So
Oh,
that's
it did it.
another
Yeah.
right. And I noticed the hummingbird. So we call our hummingbird, we have one. We call him Francisco.
Just
We don't
one?
know if it's a guy. Yeah, what we think it's just one. We think it's the same one. His name is Francisco. That's what we've named him. And in the last couple days, he's been hanging out on the wire, which he does when we're outside, and he hasn't been coming to the feeder. And when he does come to the feeder, he comes and goes. And I was like, oh, it must be
Mm.
dirty. And sure enough, when I pulled that thing apart, when you here, I'll go back to we'll go back to full screen. They
Mhm.
give you some extra parts, and this is one of the plastic parts that you got to make
Yeah.
sure you keep clean
That's
or
the
rubber.
cover on the reservoir.
That's the reservoir cover. Thank you for doing that. These get moldy inside here
Okay.
if you don't keep them clean. They send a brush. In your review, you can see a
Mhm.
complete parts list of what they send. By the way, I think
Yeah.
retail these are
2
250.
brushes, actually, I think.
Yeah, a small one and a big one
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
bottle brush for it. They really do a nice job, I think, of sending
They
you
do.
everything you need. I mean, I even got clips to clip
Oh,
this
yeah.
thing on the
Oh, we never even talked about so many mounting options for this
extra.
feeder.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
an extra, an extra cap for the
Mhm.
container. If the other one gets moldy or gets worn out, they send you an extra cap. They send you an extra one of these. Um, yeah, so tonight when I pulled it down, it was pretty moldy. And so I was like, "You know what?
Okay.
I'm gonna probably need to clean this." I don't know, with yours, did you how often were you refilling it and cleaning it?
Not that often. I would say a bottle probably lasted a week at our
Okay.
place,
Yeah.
and just where we are, we weren't getting the mold issue, but
Okay.
and the hummingbirds I found would tolerate sort of about a week or
Okay.
more
Okay.
before they would stop coming.
Okay.
I mean, I did a whole bunch of reading about hummingbirds while I was reviewing this, and they can be pretty particular.
A little
So I
finicky.
would say it
Yeah.
it took us about, oh, I wanna say, I can't remember what it was, like 2 or 3 weeks to even start getting hummingbirds to the feeder, and then sometimes they'll just disappear and not come.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could have something to do with how clean the feeder is and if
I think it
it's,
does.
getting moldy or,
I think
filled
it
with
does. They're not
ants is
gonna
the
wanna
other thing
drink.
that sometimes
Yeah.
happens.
We typically have had a huge ant problem, and these are not for whatever reason, the ants are not attacking this. It's got a
Did you
built-in
fill
moat.
the ant moat? Yeah,
I didn't. No, the top is an ant moat you can fill,
yeah.
and it keeps the
It's
ants out.
clever.
I
Again,
didn't do it.
clever elements to this product.
No, they've really thought it through well.
Mhm.
Like you're saying, I'm showing some pictures. These are actual camera pictures as well. When I
Okay.
first set it out, we have a yellow finch. It identified it that right, which is I love the facial expression of like, "Hey, what's this?"
Yes.
Right? It was brand new. This is I
Are
put it up
you
on
looking
May
at me?
1st. I literally had it up for an hour, and this finch visits this, and it's
Oh,
like,
amazing.
"Hey, what is this?" Right? And then, you can see, we're getting some pretty good we have a
Looks like that
and
bird is wearing a scarf. What is
yeah,
that?
they call it a ruby-throated hummingbird. Those are the most
Oh,
common here in
wow.
Nebraska, and you'll see
That's
pictures these
beautiful.
are the only kind we've gotten so far, and like I said, I think it's the same hummingbird, Francisco, as we've called him, and these are both pictures from both cameras. They're both 1080p.
Mhm.
But and you'll see different angles here. See the red ruby throat grows away when you see him when you view him from the side, which is kind of
Right, okay.
right. It's one of those
Interesting.
where you see him. So not like you said, not the best resolution pictures, but
Mhm.
not too bad. This is a pretty good, little bit better on my screen than it is
Mhm.
probably.
Well, and better when they're still, I find. If they are able to
Yeah,
sit on the perch and be still themselves,
yeah,
obviously the pictures and the video were better. It's when they're in motion that
yeah.
it's
You
that it's
can't.
it's struggling, right?
4K would take a lot of battery, so you're gonna need and I wanna talk about that solar panel here in
Yeah.
just a second because that was another area, but, we got some really good that week. These are all through the month of May, and I got some good pictures, right? This is the front camera, the other 2 that you
Yeah.
saw were from the side camera, and you get some good I mean, when it took a while that picture is a beautiful one. Francisco will sit on our power line waiting for us to leave the patio so he can drink. By the way, I have no idea if it's a he or a she. We're just assuming it's a he at
Or
this
if
point.
his name is Francisco for
Well,
that matter, but
we
we'll
know
go
that
with what
for
we've got.
sure. We know that because we
He
named him.
wears a tiny little name badge.
That's right. He had a little necklace that, said Francisco. Um, so we'll talk about that, the power issue here in just a second. But getting some good I mean, I think we got some he'll sit on the power line and wait for us to leave. And I've never seen a hummingbird that patient. He just sits there. And it's hilarious because there's like the crows and the robins and the stuff that we have in the backyard are way more patient than he is, are less patient than he is. They're flying around. He's just sitting there,
Mhm.
literally just sitting there waiting. So no hummingbird that I've ever seen before like it with patience to kind of like, hey, could you leave now? I need something to drink, right? We do
So
think
cute.
maybe we have two of them. We've never seen
Mm,
them together at the same time, but we last year this was the same not same kind of hummingbird we had
right.
in our manual and kind of our manual feeder. I do agree with you. Actually, so one of the things that was tough for me is in the area I put it, it doesn't get a lot of sun. So I've got
Mm,
this solar. What I did the other night is I took a battery out and plugged it in and
mhm.
recharged it with a battery. So little you can go out overnight, it'll recharge it every couple days, then you would need to so that there is a little bit of a hack. If you were in an area where you
Okay.
couldn't run power, you could do an external battery just take it out,
Right.
plug it in. It's
Like a power
USB.
bank, you mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Power
that's
battery.
smart, yeah.
Yeah, power bank.
Yeah.
I did just hung it off the had a little strap on it, just hung it on the side, recharged the thing overnight, which worked really, really, which worked well. But I'm gonna have to that solar panel, it's small. The one that you
Yeah.
showed for the seed feeder, much larger.
Mm.
And I'm kind of wondering if it's too underpowered. Like it's got 2
Could
cameras and a
be.
battery, and I'm
Yeah.
having trouble getting enough solar to it. Now it's in a bad spot. This weekend, I'm gonna move it up onto the roof. Our power comes out through the roof.
Mhm.
I've got a pole. I've already got my Ring solar panel up on that. I'm gonna put
Oh,
this
okay.
one right underneath it. It'll get 7 hours of sun. I'm gonna see if that makes
Okay.
a
Yeah,
difference,
yeah.
as far it but it's a smaller panel. The panel, it seemed like that you get
Yes.
is like a 10-inch, where this one is like a 6-inch, right? Type
Yeah, I'd say
seems
that's
smaller,
probably
right?
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move it to the roof, which means I need to move this is too far away, so I need to move it under the eaves, which may be a better place for it anyway, as it seems when
Yeah.
in your placement of either one of these, did it matter where you put it, as far as birds coming? Did you get it far away from the house? Did you have it did it
Yeah,
matter?
I mean, I've done both. Like we have sort of 2 manual non-smart feeders under the
Yeah,
eaves, and there's hummingbirds there all the time. When I hung the Birdfy one there, they didn't seem to wanna come to it as much. I don't know why.
okay.
So I experimented with placing it around the yard and, they were less interested the furthest away it was from the house. And I kind of put it halfway between the house and the edge of the backyard, and that seemed to be the sweet spot for them. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Who
Okay.
knew hummingbirds were so finicky?
Yeah, well, or it's getting this figured out in the right place, right?
Yeah.
Jay says his wife has that feeder, this hummingbird feeder. He says it makes a mess for sure.
Yeah.
It is a little messy. I listen, the one I had before, it was messy too. So it was not indicative of the feeder. It's just you got sugar water in there, right? And then
Yeah.
he says ours is on the deck. I did as I was cleaning it today, I did notice there's 4 screw holes on the bottom, and I don't know what
Mhm.
those are for. I was like,
Was
they're
that for a
threaded.
bracket?
So maybe
Like
if you're putting
outside?
it on a maybe if you're putting it on a stand, you
On a
can
post.
on
Yeah.
a post or something? Okay. Yeah, it's designed well, it just needs to be cleaned often as well, and I
Yeah.
need to work on the I'm gonna have to work on the power management of it, the issue I had, and it's had 2 firmware updates to it since I
Oh,
got it, so
interesting.
I'm kinda
Okay.
hoping they're continuing to improve on it. It'd be good to hear from
Mhm.
them. I couldn't find any release notes, like on the, "Hey, we improved
Mm.
this, we
Right.
improved that." That may be a nice thing to put out there as well. Remind me to
Mhm.
talk about the community here in a second, but
Yeah.
it's had 2 updates. Its motion detection is, for
Mhm.
me, is over the top. It detects
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah, you can
And
almost use it as a security camera too.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I used their support, which was really, really good. Like, they got to me right away. I had some conversations with them, and I was like, "Hey, this thing is giving too many alerts," and they're like, "Yeah, we know."
Right.
Right. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We're
Here's
working
how to
on it.
dial it back.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
working on it. Hang tight. I really only wanted it to notify me when there was actually a bird picture in there,
Right,
and
yeah.
it was notifying me for every movement. Well, the thing is hanging, and so every
Yeah,
time the wind
that's
blows.
the other thing. It swings.
Yeah, yeah, so that was now I did a firmware upgrade last night, so in preparation for this, I was going through some things and checking some stuff. I don't know, what did you think about the app? Like, I felt like is you get into the app and there's a community there, and
Mhm.
lots of people post their bird pictures and a few hummingbird ones to the
Mhm.
community channel, and it's actually I think a lot of fun to scroll through
Mhm.
the pictures. Did you get a chance to interact with the app at all?
I did. I thought I interacted with the app more using the seed feeder.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
actually, and I
Yes.
don't know if
Yes.
this is made clear to most people, but there's actually 2 apps. There's sort of one for the feeders, and then there's one for the hummingbird feeder. But
Oh,
you can also use the regular one for the hummingbird feeder, but they don't recommend it.
Oh,
So that
well,
was
maybe
very
that's my
not clear
problem.
to me.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
think
I'll
I
need to
wonder
look
if
into
I
that
have
because
it
I'm
here.
definitely using the one. Pretty sure I'm using the one for the just the regular bird feeder.
I wanna say it's the NetView app
Okay.
for the hummingbird feeder, and then it's the Birdfy app for the seed feeder. I can't remember. I think
Okay.
I mentioned it in my review at
Okay.
techgadgetscanada.com if anyone is
Yeah.
confused.
Perfect.
But, the Birdfy app that I was using for the seed feeder, I mean, there's a lot going on in there, and I
Yeah.
did find it, um there's a lot. I mean, you can check in on your feeder, you can check in on other people's feeders, which is cool, but there's lots to do, so
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
kinda neat to see the absolutely amazing creatures that are stopping
Mhm.
at people's bird feeders, though, around the
Mhm.
world,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
aspect is pretty
Yeah.
fun.
If you love birds, if you love watching birds, you'll
Mhm.
spend this is the TikTok of like, right? You go in there, there's all these videos. You
Totally.
just watch and watch a new one and watch a new one. People are really good about posting their videos there, and the
Yeah.
birds are beautiful. Like, it's just
Yeah.
one of those things you're
It's
like,
really
"Oh,
neat.
man, this is" yeah, it's super and easy that part is easy, like, the community part, and then if you have pictures you wanna share, you just say, "Share picture," and it shoots off to the community. I do that was one I for me, um, and Tony says his wife has reached that point in her life, where she really likes birds. I think at some point you decide you're gonna be for guys anyways, you're gonna be a World War II history buff or you're gonna like birds. That's the that's the
What age does that happen at?
think 50. I think it's 50
Okay.
or 55. So tell Roger it's coming. It's
It's
coming.
coming. Yeah. I think we're starting to get there. I just like having life in my yard. I never thought that I'd be that person who, is, you know, putting stuff out
Yeah.
for the birds and the
Do you have any
squirrels and
squirrel
whatever, but
problems with with the
we have
feeder?
we have a good amount of squirrels and they will get into all of our feeders almost, but that's about it.
Okay.
It's fun because the squirrels are like really creative in how they'll break into your feeder.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's
they're
kind of
super smart.
impressive.
They're super smart. Listen, they're not still here because they're dumb. Like, they can get
Yes.
food from anywhere. I had a
Touche.
bag of, pellets for the smoker on the deck, and I had filled up the smoker, but not all of it, so I rolled up the bag and just set it by the side thinking, "I'll put these away later." Well, I didn't. The next morning, bag shredded. And
Everywhere. Pellets
some
everywhere.
squirrel out there like, "Give me some water. Give me some water." Yeah, I ate
Not as
pellets.
tasty as we thought.
I eat pellets. I need some water. Give me something. But that is always the nemesis of bird feeders, of course, is
Mm,
squirrels, right?
yep,
There's all these and there's a whole YouTube channels dedicated to blocking squirrels
yep,
from bird feeders. Do you do you feel like having you had bird feeders before and you had hummingbird feeder
yep.
before? Is that are both those statements true? And then so you
Yes,
just
both are true.
added this to your I mean, we already where I live, we have a lot of birds. I don't have to put anything out. They're just here. We can watch them all the time. But it's made me want to put a bird feeder out, just a regular
Mm,
one, just to get them to stop, maybe to get them to stop in the yard, but maybe I don't want
yeah.
them to. I don't know. You kinda I see them already. Maybe I don't want them to stop in my yard.
Oh,
Maybe,
you're lucky. We don't get as many. I mean, there's always, chickadees and sparrows and stuff around, but
yeah.
I find if I leave seeds out, I get more interesting birds. And here in Calgary, that tends to be blue jays we get excited about. We've also got a lot of magpies in this part of the world. So, I
Mm.
mean, if I
Yeah,
put peanuts out for the blue jays, the
yeah,
squirrels and the magpies have the feeder empty in about an hour. I mean,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
too good. So,
They just clean it out.
yeah.
Bird feeder, the seed feeder, about 200. I think the hummingbird's like 250.
Yeah.
What do you think of that price point for I mean, they do have cameras in them, right? I mean, what do you think of
Yeah.
that price point?
I mean, it's pricey, depending on what your circumstances are right now and what your disposable income looks like. It's pricey by any stretch of the imagination, but, with the seed feeder in particular, you are getting a lot in that package. You're getting the camera. You don't need 4K resolution as much because the birds tend to be a little slower. So I think there's actually a lot of value in the seed feeder. Like I said, I would like to see a few more changes to the hummingbird feeder before I
Yeah,
think it's worth the
yeah,
money.
yeah. It's
But
good,
at the
good.
same time, I think, if we're going 4K and making a bunch of improvements, the price might go up too. So I don't know.
True,
I'm
true,
really interested to try it if they
true.
do have a version 2.0.
Yeah. I'm not as picky about the pictures. I liked the resolution that I got when we first started getting them in. Now, Francisco tends to be very photogenic, so he
He
holds still.
poses for you a lot.
He
Yeah.
does. He does pose a lot. So that works for us. I still don't know if I would drop 250 on it, but it is a
Yeah.
cool, and like you said, it can double as a security camera somewhere,
Yeah. I think it's
for
a
you as
it's a
well.
really great gift. If you're at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
price
I'd
threshold
agree.
for gift giving, I think it's really fun and it would be a great gift for someone. I think people would like it. I got the original feeder I got that I didn't love, the Bird Buddy, was a Christmas gift from my husband
Mm,
last December. So
yeah.
I was like, sorry, honey, it's getting a poor review, but thank you.
Sorry, sorry. Um, I'll put the links to both of those. You can head out to techgadgetscanada.com and search for them. I'll put the links. They're already in chat if you want to bookmark those. And if you want to, they'll be in the show notes for this show down below. If you're watching on the site, or you can head over to the averageguy.tv and get the links for those as well. Aaron, anything else you'd add before we move on?
No, I think we covered it. I think we covered
Okay.
it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was, I'm glad I've got it, and I'm going to continue to
Yeah.
work. I got to figure out how to get the solar panel just right, or get that thing
Yeah.
figured out with it. We'll continue to use it, and I'm going to put it in a new location and just see how it does, and see if we can get a few more hummingbirds. I don't know what I got to do to attract more hummingbirds to Nebraska. They should be here, but maybe
Yeah.
I need to get
Same
Francisco a
same in
girlfriend.
Calgary, I'm surprised to say.
So I
So,
wonder if I can hire.
wow.
I wonder if I can hire a girlfriend. So we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it figured out one way or the other. Okay. The Besides that, my second favorite topic that we always, besides vacuum cleaners, my second favorite topic is always when you cover grills. And you got an opportunity to do the Kamado Joe Konnected. I love they spelled it with a K. That's pretty great. Connected Joe Smart Charcoal, which Mark, but Tony gives me a hard time too. But Mark Robson is always trying to get me to get a charcoal grill. I don't have one of
Mhm.
those yet. I'm gonna listen to this review that you have and see, is this something I should consider. Talk a little bit about this Kamado Joe Konnected Joe Smart Grill.
Yeah. I was, um I was a little apprehensive about this one because I am not a confident charcoal griller at all.
Oh, it's hard.
My husband swears by it. He loves it. I believe he currently owns 2.5 charcoal grills for different purposes,
Should I
as
ask
you
what the
do.
point five is?
It's like a little hibachi.
Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, he loves it, he swears by it, and I've tried. I have tried. But between the starting of the fire and the priming of the charcoal, and I've just never been good at it, and I can never really get the fire going, and if I can get the fire going, it's really hard to maintain it at temperature, so I've just been really unsuccessful. So Kamado Joe reached out and said, "Would you like to try our connected smart charcoal grill?" And I was like, "No." And then I went, "Well, okay, wait. We're adding smarts to it here. So this could help." And I guess the premise with this is that it's got both a heating element in the base and a fan and a control panel on the front. So the idea behind it is you can fill it with charcoal and then choose the temperature that you're going to want the grill to be at, and then press one button and it takes care of the rest. Now,
Mhm.
there's some more technology that we'll get to, but that's the premise in a nutshell. And I have to say, that's exactly how it worked.
Mm.
The first time I used it, loaded it up with charcoal, got everything set up, and couldn't believe how quickly it lit and caught. And then it's got a temperature gauge on the front, which you can see. You can, of course, also connect it to a smartphone app. So you can watch the temperature there. It got to temperature, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, in about 15 minutes,
Mm.
which, I mean, for me, having done other charcoal grilling, I'm lucky if I can get it to temperature in 45 minutes or an hour. So we made hamburgers, we made steak on this. It was so easy. And then the kind of next level of thing you can do with the Kamado Joe Connected Joe Smart Grill is it's got ports for a meat thermometer, which one meat thermometer is included. Connect the meat thermometer, plug it into your food, and then there's sort of connectedness in the app between that and the meat thermometer and the food. So if you're cooking a burger, you go into the app and you say, "Yes, I'm cooking beef. It's ground. I would like it to come out rare." And it does all the calculations for you and sets everything for you. You just hit start and then it'll tell you, "Okay, your burger's done." So, I mean, it was completely foolproof. And as a fool when it comes to charcoal grills, I was able to ace everything I cooked on this grill
Ooh.
every time. Blew my mind. Blew my mind.
Once again, you've corrected me. I've always called these guys Komodo, but they're Kamado, right? Is that how they pronounce?
Kamado is yeah,
Kamado is the way they pronounce
yeah.
it. Did you find one of the things I charcoal is just a mess, right? Is that as far as so yeah, you get the charcoal in there and it fires up easy, the fans. It's basically a smoker, right? I mean, they're just taking some of the
Yeah,
smoker
I suppose,
technology,
yeah.
right? Fans and kind of keeping it going and feeding it. The only thing it doesn't have is a charcoal feeder. That would be super cool
Mhm.
if it had a big, feeder
Yeah.
in there. For cleanup and such, have you used it enough where you've had to pull the ashes out? How do they handle that?
Yeah, it's got, there's kind of a drawer in the base, so the way the base of the it's kind of egg-shaped, like one of those big
Hmm. Yeah,
eggs, I guess is what we
yeah.
call them.
Big green egg
And it's
or
got
whatever
yeah,
they yeah.
very
Yep.
similar design. It's got some vents, I guess, in the bottom where you
Mhm.
can there's a tool that's included, so you can scrape all the leftover ash into the bottom, and then there's a drawer underneath it that pulls out from the front. So it just pulls out, you dump it in the garbage, and it's clean.
Mm,
So it was really easy to maintain as well, which I thought was amazing.
yeah.
And then just like lots of clever little design things on it. The lid will lock and it's on like a spring weighted hinge. So you can open the lid and it doesn't snap back or snap back down and you don't kind of have to brace it. It will just
Mm,
float where you put it.
nice.
There's folding shelves on either side that you can lift up if you need to use, space around it or fold down if you're going to put the cover on and store it. There's a little shelf underneath the body of the grill. There's locking, I think we call them caster wheels, locking
Mhm.
wheels.
Yep, yep.
Um, just so many clever things to this. There's places to hang your barbecue tools. You can get a cover for it. I had the best experience with this. I was
Huh,
expecting to have to slog through a review and, scorch my food and be really disappointed in this grill, but I couldn't get over how
yeah.
awesome it was and how much I really enjoyed it. And even Roger, who is kind of a diehard charcoal grill guy, thought, wow, I mean, I was already having a great experience with charcoal grills, and this just takes it to a completely
Yeah,
other level.
yeah. It takes the experience of an insulated grill, like the big green egg. I think
Mhm.
that's what they call it, where you'd have to, you know, move open vents, do some other things to kind of
Yes.
hold that because the cheaper charcoal grills, I mean, it's heat. It's just that's why it's just
Yes.
running out everywhere, right? And these new style, I shouldn't say new, these style of grills that they've been around a while now, help with that. And then of course
Mhm.
to have automated fans, to have some of that. You in your review, you said you really, and I threw the review in chat. If you guys want to look at it, it'll be available in the show notes as well. You said the app is pretty easy to use. You found that easy. They make it pretty easy to set temps and
Mhm.
is it as easy as if I wanted to cook my burgers at 400, I could bring the temperature up. It's gonna get it there for me, and then just put
Yeah.
the burgers on, close the lid. It'll
Yeah,
warn
you
me
can
when
you
my
can
time
also
is up.
yeah, you can also kind of dial back the smarts. I think they call it an automatic mode. So if you just want to use this as a straight up charcoal grill, don't want to get your phone out, don't want to plug
Mm,
anything in, you can just use it like that. And then sort of taking it another step up from that, if you just want to go into the app and do exactly that, say, I want the temperature to be this, and then I want the food to be at this temperature, you can go fully manual with it that way and set your own temperatures for things. And it'll just alert you when it reaches those temperatures. So it's really versatile that way. It's kind of like, it goes from like tricycle to training wheels on a bike
yeah,
to 10
yeah,
speed and
yeah.
e-bike. There's so many ways to use it.
The one drawback I see as I look at it, and I just did this the other night. I had friends over. I smoked. We did 8-ounce bacon wrapped sirloins, which is just my
Mm,
favorite. And it's
mhm.
Nebraska. They're like $4. They're super cheap here in Nebraska.
Wow.
And yeah, they were on sale. I should say 4.99. They were $5 a steak, but super delicious. And then I wanted to grill vegetables, and I had 10 people over, so I needed some space. Now, okay, not everybody cooks for 10 all the time, but
Mhm.
these grills seem to lack, for me,
Mm,
they seem to lack the space. I think they're really good if you're doing 6 or 8 burgers and maybe that's it or something else.
yep.
But I had the smoker going for the steaks, and then I had to open my grill, get that fired up, and I had a big vegetable
Mhm.
rack. I forget what a handled
Yeah, yeah, like a
thing in there.
basket or whatever.
And then I used a frog mat for the other half. And so I had them going on both sides.
Right.
So for big cooks like and I love to do my burgers and steaks on the smoker now because I don't get flare
Mhm.
ups. Or vegetables
Yeah.
on the grill are so much better, I think, over a flame or even over charcoal. Or
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
vegetables
there's
on
so much
charcoal
more
are awesome.
flavor.
So you don't do you ever get to that? And it's just you and Roger, but do you ever get to that point where, like, if you wanted to do more, you feel like it'd be a little claustrophobic?
That's a good question because for the most part it was us. We had another couple over one night and grilled, and I mean it was fine for 4.
Yeah,
Um but I can totally see it
yeah.
being an issue if you have a larger family. I mean, you'd certainly have to cook in batches
Yeah.
maybe.
Does it have a second level?
That's a good
Does it
point.
have can you put something on top and, like, have burgers on one level and maybe veggies on top, or
You probably could because the way the rack system is set, it's a split rack, so you can
okay,
actually take out half of one side of the
yeah,
grill, and then
yeah,
there's sort of another rack you
yeah,
can put below it. Um, I didn't try anything like that, but you could probably hack something together with it. And it comes with other options too, like if you were going to use the Kamado Joe to keep things hot, there's like another rack that lets you put, a paella pan or a pizza stone in
yeah,
or other
yeah,
things like that, other
yeah.
tools and accessories.
Do you think it's as big as a Weber, or do you think it's a little bit, like the regular Weber, like everything's compared to those because that was such a popular size, right? The big. Do you think
Right.
it's as big as that or a little bit smaller, do you think?
I might say it was a little smaller.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I've had one of those kind
Yeah.
of basic Weber grills, like the
Yeah.
smaller ones. It's Yeah, it's hard to know. I would say you probably wouldn't be able to cook for more than 6
Okay. Yeah.
comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did ribs on it, and Roger got sort of, I think he had 3 big racks of ribs, and it was a challenge to place them.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a rack that lets him do them vertically if he needs to,
Yep. Yep.
but,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
it kind of, if you get a really long rack of ribs, that was like edge to edge in there, so
Yeah. I do, I have a Austin XL, which is 1,000 square inches or something like that. And so it's pretty big. And I use every inch of it for 2 pounds of beef jerky. It takes a lot of
Oh,
space,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Could never do something like that.
No.
16 or $1,700 for something like
Yep.
this, though, right? It comes with a pretty hefty price tag. For you, though, for the ease of it, for smaller family, you could use it more often. I don't know, how's it coming from a price perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you're getting a lot with it, and this grill is certainly it felt absolutely well made to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It feels well made to me, feels premium. So I think you're getting what you pay for with this one. There's a lot of value there. And for me, this is something I would use if I were borrowing a friend's Kamado Joe grill and trying it out. I would probably be ordering one the next day because the experience is so great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, for me, I just would not try charcoal grilling, and even after owning one of these, would still not go out and use a hibachi or a standalone charcoal grill on my own. But I would absolutely be comfortable grilling anything on the Kamado Joe Connected Joe
Yeah.
because
Great.
I know it's helping me out.
Yeah. Brings it kind of brings the ease of the gear fed smokers that they're all headed this way. They're all this way
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Or gas where you just turn it on, it's there, the flame, you can kind of
Yes.
control it.
That's
This
usually me.
finally
Yeah.
gives you some control over the charcoal
Yes.
where
Yeah.
listen, many people are great at figuring that out, right? But many aren't. And so
Yeah.
it brings some aspect of
And
control
I
to
would
that.
say the last thing I'll say about it is I think the overall interface and the app and the way everything works together on this one is really seamless. I reviewed a smart grill last summer and it was a little clunkier, a little more kind of you had to fight with it a bit more to get what you needed. And there was a few more steps in the app every time. And I haven't broken that one out yet this summer to see if it's been improved. But this one was just so easy and the app was so user friendly that, having tried kind of two big name smart grills now, I think the Connected Joe is far and away the superior product.
Cool. Cool. That sounds good. That sounds like a good review. We'll have the link available. I threw it in chat. And if you guys want to check it out, it'll be in the show notes available as well. All right, Aaron. This kind of comes under the category of like WTF. All right. So like you're now hold on. Let me just bring this up. You're now reviewing vehicles? Is that have you can will you even talk to me after this review?
Absolutely. I'll take you for a drive.
Oh, that would be nice. Talk a little you got to review a 2024 Chevy Traverse in a 2-day all-terrain test drive. Talk a little bit about that. That
Yeah.
sounds fun.
Yeah, this was a really cool experience. I got invited to Atlanta, Georgia, and had the chance to take out the 2024 Chevrolet Traverse. And Chevrolet was fantastic. They brought me out there, so they did pay for my flight and arrangements and stuff, and arranged for me to spend a couple days with this vehicle. So I'm grateful for that. They didn't have anything to say about my review though, so you're getting my thoughts 100% on this. But it was really fun because they went to the trouble of setting up like an off-road, all-terrain driving course for the vehicle so that we could test it out off-road. And, it wasn't some playground off-road course. It was pretty legit. It was a lot of fun. So got to take it out in the back roads for a day, and then we got to do some highway driving on the second day. So really cool experience. This is my first car review, and I kind of thought the same as you, Jim. I was like, "Why are you asking me to review a car? Like, what?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And admittedly, I'm not a gearhead. I'm not a car nerd. I'm not that person. I know people who are. That it's not me. But what we're seeing is the crossover from like smart home technology and the things that we can do with our smartphones is starting to overlap a lot with our cars. So the smart technology in these vehicles is really becoming, more more to the forefront, I guess, for consumers. So there's coming to be a lot of overlap there. So this one has a really cool, infotainment system and integrated maps and, video screens and all kinds of stuff. And then it's also got Super Cruise, which is basically cruise control, but you can be completely hands free.
Mhm.
So I was super excited to try that out because I've never driven a self-driving car, have not taken out a Tesla,
Yeah.
and quite frankly have just I've been the kind of person who's like, self-driving cars, like maybe one day, but let's let them get it right first. So this was my first time driving in a car that had any kind of this smart self-driving technology. And it was kind of scary for a minute there. Um, they walk us through sort of what to do and how it works. And then you sort of basically set your cruise control. I'm going to oversimplify it here, but just set the
Yeah.
cruise control
Yeah.
and then take your hands off the wheel and it
Yeah.
drives for you. It steers
Yeah.
for you. And just
Mhm.
as I took my hands off the wheel for the first time, my video review is at youtube.com/Erin Lawrence TV. And it might be worth watching because the first time I took my hands off the wheel, I'm hovering them above the wheel in case I need to grab the wheel. And then I look up and there's like a cement truck coming. So, and I'm like fighting every urge to grab the wheel and make sure we're not going to die in a horrible
Yeah.
fiery wreck. And we didn't. We did not. Um, so it was just really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's kind of another way that you can just relax a little bit more while you're driving.
Mhm.
Now you still
Mhm.
have to pay attention, and if you don't, it's got cameras kind of around the vehicle and it
Yeah.
can tell when you're not paying attention to what's in front of you. So if you pick up your phone, for example, it'll disengage. It'll tell you like we're disengaging Super Cruise
Mhm.
and you got to
Mhm.
take the wheel back. And same thing like if you're looking off and like not paying attention, it will alert you and then disengage. And then it won't let you re-engage it until you pull over, stop, turn off the car, and then start everything up again.
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah, it will
Okay.
punish you if you
Yeah,
if you're being a
that's
poor
a little
driver.
extreme. That's
I support that. I think that's a good thing.
oh,
So,
that's
it
awesome.
was quite the experience and
Wow.
really comfortable drive in this vehicle. Yeah, just really, really good
Yeah.
like cockpit experience. I got in all the back seats and like was in the trunk area, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
It's got a cool feature where if you've got the key in your pocket and you walk around behind the vehicle, it knows and it'll just pop the trunk for you. So or pop the back gate. Man, so many other features like cameras all around and like radar and it can tell it'll sort of give you a warning if, like, a cyclist is going by you, and you're about to get out of the car. It'll sort of
Yeah.
warn you not to open the door. I It was really fun. It was
That's
really fun
cool.
to
That's
experience all
cool.
this technology in a car, and, yeah, I'm pretty excited to see where this is all going.
Are you itching now to like think of a 2024 something at home that is a little smarter than what you currently have?
I think so. We bought, something slightly smarter than we were driving. Our car is, like, a 2010. Yeah, it's 2010.
Yeah.
And we got a slightly newer used car last year, which has a few of the bells and whistles, but not any of this kind of technology.
Yeah.
And then after driving this, I thought, man, if I had kind of gone a little deeper into my options, I guess, when I was buying the car that I bought last year, I would totally buy the Traverse. It didn't really come up in my searches and it wasn't really on my radar, but I'm so glad I had the opportunity to drive it because I really enjoyed it. And yes, I think I am ready for some of this technology. The other thing I'll say about the technology is there's a lot of the safety technology. So the lane change thing, like if you're drifting in a lane,
Yeah.
it'll jerk you back.
Yeah.
In a lot of the newer cars, the car that I bought last summer does that. So if I'm
Mm.
driving along and I just happen to drift a bit, it will literally jerk the wheel back. And I hate it.
Yeah.
So every
Yeah.
time I get in the car, I shut off all
Yeah.
the safety features because
Yeah.
they're annoying.
Right. Right. Right.
But what this one does, what the Traverse will do is it's got vibration in the seat. So if
Mm.
you're starting to drift, it'll buzz you on the side of your leg
On
and
your
be like,
bum.
"Hey, zzz, zzz, zzz," and you're like, "Oh, okay, great."
Yeah.
Which I think is a much better experience, and it
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
it was a lot more gentle at, if you didn't respond to the buzzing, it was more gentle at like, "Okay, we're just gonna nudge you back to where you need to be."
Yeah.
Whereas the cars that are kind of policing you and a bit more aggressive, I find, and Chevy's engineers backed me up on this, I find that people just get in the car and turn all that stuff
Yeah.
off because it's a
Yeah.
poor
Yeah.
user experience. So,
Yeah.
glad to see someone is listening to what consumers are saying and trying to find a way to balance that safety and security with not being annoying and
Yeah.
aggressive.
Yeah. No, right on. Subaru is the in between, like pull you back in the lane. It doesn't jerk you back in the lane, but it's not a gentle pull back in either, right? They
Yeah.
pull that wheel. They get you back in, which isn't bad. They're still wanting you. I have eyesight, so I have two cameras up in my,
Okay.
up and they're doing some cool stuff and they're keeping me safe. I mean, Subaru is one of those cars that's going to stop before you think to stop. That's what they're kind of famous for, that
Mm,
safety technology. If they think that you're going to run into something, the ABS kicks in and you go, scares
right.
the crap out of you, right? But they're slowing the car
Yes.
down. Um, the adaptive cruise is what they call
Mhm.
that on the Subaru, is fantastic. Like it makes driving so much easier. They do
Mhm.
not want you taking on a Subaru. They do the I have a 2021. I haven't We're thinking about, don't tell Sarah this, but I'm thinking about getting her a 2024. And they're a big one. They're a big SUV. And I think they're getting better and better. If you take your hands off for too long, they're like, it'll bing, bing, and it says, put your hands back on the steering wheel, right? It tells you that,
Yeah.
hey, we're not that car, right? You need to keep your hands on the steering wheel, but just a gentle hand on it, and it'll keeps you
Mhm.
in the lane, keeps you safe, keeps the speed, slows down. You can set the distance that you want to be away from people. So all those features just take the stress out of a long
Mhm.
trip. You just set it, and now if you're not paying attention, you can get behind somebody who's slow and then it'll slow
Yeah.
you down if you're not paying attention, right? You could be going
Oh,
slower
but
than you want to.
Jim, the Traverse will pass cars
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
Tesla
the
does
other
too.
thing
That's
that was
nice.
a
That's nice.
little actually a lot freaky was, like, I think if I remember correctly, you have to tell it you gotta kinda put the blinker on, but it'll go when it's safe, and I was like, "Man,
Yeah.
I'm
The
freaked out by this," but
the Tesla passing is really good. You just put your blinker on and it passes
Mhm,
for you. I don't know. I mean, that's cool. I don't know if I need that. I mean, someday I
mhm,
might, but the fact in the Subaru, I put the blinker on, and then as I start to move, you can set 4 levels of acceleration. You can have
mhm.
aggressive or just average or below average or slow. And I put the blinker on and start to pull over, and it'll actually speed up for me as I'm making that lane
Oh,
change,
wow.
which is kind of nice, right? I still gives me control of the car, but um, it's accelerating for me and then gets me right to the speed I want to be. I still kind of like that control. A lot of a lot of comments going on in chat about what people like and don't like.
Mhm.
This auto start and stop. Justin says no, never had it, never will. One of the in the gas engine ones, the Subarus do this. I don't know if the Traverse did this, but when you pull up to a stoplight, it'll shut itself off
Yeah.
and wait and then when the light turns green and you pick your foot off the gas, it starts. I shut, I turn that off, and I can't turn it off
Me
permanently.
too.
So I have to turn it off every time I
Same.
go in the car. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still now my Honda. I had a '06 hybrid. I mean, that's things, old. Like it's almost 20 years old. It's been doing that a while. That's not new, right? But
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it was one of the first cars doing it. I was okay with the hybrid doing that. That's the crazy thing. Like when I was in
Hmm.
the hybrid, now you didn't have it, you couldn't shut it off. So you had to get
Right.
used to it, right?
Yeah.
But
It's hard to get used to, and maybe I'm just being old school, but there are times, I mean, if you need to make, I'll call it an aggressive move, from a stop or from a stoplight or something, you've got to get in front of someone and make a turn. Like it impedes you
yes, it
into
tries to
making your
hold you
moves.
in the
Like,
lane. Yeah. Yeah, unless you have
well,
the
no, I
blinker on.
mean, like by the time it starts and then starts going
Oh,
again,
I
like
got
you've
you.
almost
I got
missed your
you. Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Although the Subaru starts right up. I mean, it's fast. You have a hard
Yeah.
time getting your foot off and I have a hard time beating it, but I still don't like it.
Okay, that's good.
I still don't
Yeah,
like it. I'm like,
same.
I don't, yeah. What I was thinking is when you're passing somebody and you've got the lane assist on, and so the lane assist in Subaru is what keeps you in the lane. And you go, if you don't put your blinker on, it holds you
Yes.
in that lane, right?
My current car does that, and I'm forever, like, fighting it back over, and then I'm like, "Oh, I should have just put the blinker on,"
Yeah,
which, I mean,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
supposed to do anyway, but
That's a safety feature. They're just trying to get you.
yeah.
They're just trying to
Well,
get you to get.
like, it's the law and stuff, so, I mean, we should be signaling anyway, so
Jeez, Aaron, why do you have to get so
it's just trying to
serious?
get me to follow the law. Oh,
Why so
yeah.
serious?
I know.
Well, did it influence you? I mean, here in the United States, Chevy, Ford, Dodge, they
Mhm,
can be, they're American cars, so people
mhm.
lean that way. You're not an American. Did it influence you in any with to think Chevy next time you think
Oh,
about that?
100%. And like I said earlier, I'm flabbergasted that it didn't come up in my initial search when we were looking for a vehicle. Um, the Ford Explorer came up, the Hyundai Palisade, I think it was, and a few others came up in our search. But the Traverse didn't. It might not have been available at
Yeah,
the time I was
yeah.
looking, which is probably the case. But yeah, I mean, now that I know about it, I've tried it. Really impressed with Chevrolet at the moment. They had a few of their other vehicles there sort of on display for us to look at and check out. Um, yeah, I love American cars. I mean, would be happy to get an American car at any point. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super interested in this. And as the technology gets better and we can do more with our cars, I'm gonna be even more interested in what's going on. So I'm hoping to get out with a Ford vehicle. I'd love to
Oh,
get out with
nice.
a Mazda vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd really love to get out with like something like a BMW or a Volkswagen.
Mhm,
So yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, good. Here in the States, we call it Chevy. So I know there's Chevrolet. We call them Chevy. So if you want to be an
That's what
American,
I
just
call it too.
gotta call it Chevy when you're doing it. So, well, last but not least, is you think what's coming ahead? I always ask you what kinds of things are on the docket at techgadgetscanada.com. What kind of cool stuff are you looking forward to reviewing and what's coming soon?
Ooh. I have literally 4 robot vacuums in.
Okay.
Roborock has sent me the S8 Max V Ultra, which is its new flagship floor cleaning bot, and also the Roborock Flexi Pro, which is one of those upright wet dry vacuum mop combo
Mm,
things.
okay.
I've got a smart lock from Abode coming that I'm going to install this weekend and check out, and a couple of things from Ecobee, their smart thermostat premium and their smart doorbell. Those reviews are just about wrapped up. And then hot off the press, which just arrived in my mailbag this morning, is
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
Sonos Ace, the
Wow.
brand new headphone product from Sonos.
Yeah,
So
those are
haven't
like
even
$1 million.
unboxed that one yet.
Do you know the retail on those? They can't be
Off the
cheap.
top of my head, no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think they are. Sonos
Yeah.
products generally aren't cheap.
No. No.
But this has been people have been asking them to make a pair of headphones for probably as long as they've been making speakers. So I'm really curious. I mean, their products they're beautifully designed, they're gorgeous,
Yeah.
they sound fantastic. Their app sucks. The user interface in the app sucks. I'm just gonna say it. I'll be honest.
No, that's awesome.
I've written about it in like
Yeah.
6 or 8 reviews of
Yeah.
Sonos products,
Yeah.
so it
Right.
shouldn't come
Right.
as a surprise, but,
Right.
so I'm really interested to see what this experience is like. I think it's gonna be pretty premium, but I hope it doesn't rely on their app for a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully not. Listen, you don't want to go to the app for the headphones anyways. You want to put them on, they connect to whatever the
Yep.
last thing you were listening to, and you want to get I think I mentioned this to you in the pre-show. I think Josh Pollard and Richard Gunther reviewed them, or maybe Josh did in the latest episode of Entertainment 2.0. So I know a lot of my listeners also listen to that. So that may be a if you want to hear what they say. And then, Erin, you'll have that review up in a couple weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
How long does it take you
probably
to get
probably
something
2
up
or
like
3
that?
weeks, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You
I'm
give it
trying to
some
plow
time, right?
through.
You give it some
I
time?
usually do, but I'm trying
Yeah.
to plow through a lot of reviews ahead of Prime Day. A lot
Oh.
of folks that read the blog and watch the YouTube channel go shopping on Prime Day, and they want to know,
When is it this year?
what's worth it and what's not. It's going to be in July sometime, but they
Okay.
haven't announced yet the specific dates. But it's usually like the first or second week of July, and the fact that they haven't yet announced it leads me to believe that this year it might be closer to the end of July.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I'm
Well, that's
cranking out reviews as fast as humanly possible.
just grinding them out. I think they're the best reviews on the internet. And so if you haven't checked them out yet, head out to Tech Gadgets Canada. Sorry, I finished the old fashioned, and even though I said it's a long play, I finished it in an hour, and it may get a little sloppy here towards the end. Tech Gadgets Canada. It was delicious.com, and check out Erin's reviews. Make sure you subscribe to her YouTube channel. That's Erin. Actually, for me, that's what I find the most helpful. As I get those alert notifications that you have a new video out, hit the bell and make sure you subscribe. All those things you're supposed to do on YouTube.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
and I see those notifications. You also are really good if you're a X or Twitter person. You're really good about publishing those things on Twitter too. And then Twitter must know that I like reading your feed because it serves me up all your stuff all the
Oh,
time
good,
when I'm
good.
over there. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. I tweet a
So
lot. So,
you do. You do.
or I
That's
mean,
great
I
though.
X a lot. Do we still
X.
call it tweeting?
I don't I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there.
Post?
But if you're into that, like Tony Rayner is, I know for sure, Tony, because I talk
Ah,
to you on Twitter all the time. You can follow Erin out there. What's your Twitter? What's your X handle out there? How do they follow you on Twitter
yeah. I'm
or X?
at Erin LYYC.
Yeah,
I can also be found at TV Chick 1313. I've got sort of two profiles going, but
Tech. And what's your actual name out there? You can find it that way too. Tech. I should know that, but
it's either
hold on.
Tech Gadgets
Tech.
or just Erin Lawrence.
Yeah,
I'm sure I come
yeah.
up.
Get it. Get it.
Google is your friend there.
Tech
You can find
Gadgets
all of my
News.
outlets.
Yeah, Tech Gadget
There we go.
News. They can find you out there. And make sure you subscribe to that as well. Erin, I always keep you. I try not to keep you too long. I will wrap this up but we'll let you go. Have a great summer. We'll get you back here in the fall. Maybe we'll get you post Prime Day
Yeah,
and see
absolutely.
how things are going and think about the fall. But always thanks for coming on. It's great having you. Thanks for coming out.
Always my pleasure to be here, Jim. Favorite
Yeah.
podcast, favorite
Well,
host, just like
thank
I said
you.
earlier.
Thank you. We always have a good time.
And thanks
Have,
to your audience. Thank you all for listening too. It's I love hearing from you guys, so thank you. And
yeah.
reach out anytime on Twitter
You're our
or
favorite.
X.
You're our favorite too, Erin. Let's just be clear about that. Don't tell the other ones, but you're our favorite too. Yeah. Have a good evening. We'll see you in 8 to 12 weeks.
Thanks everybody.
All
Good
right.
night.
Take care. Have a good night. Again, check Erin out, techgadgetscanada.com. Make sure you're getting subscribed to her on YouTube. A couple reminders on the way out if you want to join us in the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. We'll get you there. Leave us a message. Leave me a message, I should say. It still says that in the script, so I say it every time. Leave me a message, homegadgetgeeks.com. Don't forget the averageguy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. Just had somebody the other day ask me about starting a podcast, and I was like, well, you got to go. If you're going to do a podcast, which people do start podcasts now, Christian's got the best platform. It's $10, web and media hosting, $10. Great bandwidth, great throughput. He understands podcasters because he's hosted this site from the very beginning. So check him out, maplegrovepartners.com. Or if you know somebody starting a podcast or needing a website, you can let them know, maplegrovepartners.com. Every time I talk to him, we'll have him back on the show here in a couple weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks. He's like, well, picked up another customer. So appreciate you guys doing that as well. Big thanks to Erin for joining me this week. In the coming weeks, let me bring up the schedule here just really fast on the way out. By the way, for those of you who've been around a while, I chatted with John Zadler the other day. he pinged me on my birthday, and we had a little chat. It was nice to talk to John. So, John, if you're listening, thanks for doing that. Always good to hear from you. And John Zadler always brings back good home server show memories. So I appreciate that. Next week, a good friend of mine, actually, it's a Gallup cutover, Adam Hickman. We're going to talk a little bit about fitness and some fitness gadgets, although it's not the gadgets you think. So if you're kind of low tech gadget fitness kind of stuff, he's doing some interesting workout stuff with pretty low tech stuff. And I wanted to talk to him about it. And he's a good friend, Adam Hickman. He'll be on next week on the 20th. On the 27th, Ed Sullivan is coming. He got the new iPad Pro. I think that's what they're calling it. The newest one, the M4, whatever that is. He's got it. He's been testing it for a couple weeks. We're going to spend some time talking about that. The July 4th is the 4th of July here in the United States. I'm taking it off. It's a holiday, so I won't be here. So July 4th, taken off. And then Jay Madison, if you remember, Jay has been on a couple years, but he moved and he's got a whole new office setup. He's the neatest guy on the internet. Seriously, his office is minimal, neat. Love that guy. Jay will be back on the 11th of July. And so that's what's coming up. And we'll do those live. We'd love to have you out here live. If you're listening to the recorded version, why don't you come out live? Big thanks to Tony and Justin and Ken. Ken, that's weird. You're here late. Thanks for staying late. I know usually you got to go to dinner and some of those other kinds of things. Justin says, when's the barbecue show? That's a good reminder. I need to get Mark lined up for that. So I'll ping him as soon as we're done. We'll try and maybe get that at the end of July. He's always good to come on midsummer and talk grilling. So we'll get that lined up. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Like I said, if you're listening to the recorded show, love to have you come out live. Love to have you do that. Man, a bunch of you just dropped. Bye. I'd love to have you come out on a live show, especially during the summer. It's always good to see you. Drop in the chat. Just say hi. You don't have to stay up for the whole thing. Just come out for part of it. Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. And love to have you do that. And we'll be back. I'll see you back next week, right? I got a show next week. Yeah, Adam Hickman's joining me. We'll see you back next Thursday. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Ken, thanks for staying late. Justin, always good to see you. Tony, thanks for hanging out with me. I didn't see Joe. There was a couple folks who didn't check in the chat that were out there, but thank you guys. Erin always does a great job. Always great. Always great to have her. She just is so dynamite. And listen, the Birdfy, is that what she said? Birdfy? Birdfy? I want to call it Birdfy. Birdfy? Pretty cool. I may need to pick up. Maybe I can swing. Maybe I can, after they hear this review, I'm going to ping them and maybe they'll be like, hey, we'll send you the bird one, the seed one. That'd be fun. Guys, we're already in June. We're already halfway through June, and July is on its way. We are. We just have a half. Jay, you have a good night too. We just have half the year left. It's going pretty. The number I was like, come back, and the number up here. You guys can't see it, but the number was like went to 3, and then came to 5. So thanks for coming back. Hopefully you guys are having a good summer. We in the pre-show I mentioned we got some hail, and or maybe that was in the beginning of the show. And all is good. All is good here. I may get the roof checked just to make sure we didn't get any damage, but fortunately I got the car covered up before it got too bad. So it's been we've had a lot of severe weather. I think it's just going to continue to be that way. Ryan's not out here tonight, but I see the Wichita, Topeka area is getting hammered. So I hope he's doing. There's a lot of rain going through there too. Hope he's doing okay. You guys have a good weekend. Enjoy. I didn't mention it, but happy Father's Day to those who are fathers. And if you're not, you have a father, and hopefully, if you still can. Recognize them. If the relationship's not great, sorry. Maybe this is a weekend to make it great or make it better. And if you are a dad, happy Father's Day. Appreciate you guys and all that you do. And we'll see you next week. Take care.